breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin Baseball podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.
Welcome into another episode of the Talkin Baseball podcast alongside Jamie Lent. I'm Chois Woodman. This one brought to you, as usual, by our friends at Andrews Brothers. We are getting so close to baseball season. Almost. We're still in January, but almost turning the calendar to February, which means baseball time. And we'll continue to preview the season for you, preview a lot of things. Perfect Game has put out their Big 12 preview, so we'll go through some of that, what we agree with, what we may not agree with, as well, positions might be part of what we don't agree with. So we'll get into that, and then we'll get Jamie's top 5 in the Big 12 in no particular order for the preseason. So we're diving into that. Let's start with the Perfect Game stuff, Jamie. They went through some preseason All Big 12 honors. They had some MLB draft prospects for different classes, freshmen, sophomores, all sorts of stuff like that. But on their preseason All Big 12 team, you see two names that are pretty deserving to be there as far as most talented players on the team. Definitely in positions. These might be your two most talented guys.
Yeah, Damian Bravo and TJ Pompey were listed on that team. There's 16 players that they have in their all Big 12 team. Mm-hmm. Bravo, of course, last year led the Big 12 in batting average at .378, was really killing the baseball early, and then a wrist injury derailed him towards the end of the season. He just wasn't the same guy at the end of the year, but still overall a really, really good season for Bravo. And then you move to TJ Pompey, who was a freshman All-American. TJ had his ups and downs last year, but through it all, had 49 runs driven in and hit 10 home runs, hit just below 300. So really, really talented guy that the Red Raiders think will take that next step this year to be an even bigger impact player. I think the really interesting part about this is that both guys are listed and is infielders for this team on this Perfect Game list. And I'm not sure exactly which position both of those guys are going to play.
Right.
You saw Perfect Game earlier this year named TJ Pompey a third-team All-American at second base. Okay, well, he played shortstop last year. He played second base last year. He finished the year at second base. But as we have talked about, his best position this fall was third base.
Sure.
And I think he's in the mix there to start. And he's in a battle with Peyton Schulze for that starting job at third base. I think that's where he's going to play, but that could change. And I think on any given day, you'll see Pompey, who's a versatile player, will play any of those three positions this year. And then with Bravo, he's the really interesting guy here, right? Because Bravo had started his career as a Red Raider as a pitcher, and then played left field some at the end of his freshman year. And then last year as a sophomore, played outfield almost the entire time, left field and center field. And so you would think, well, he's an outfielder. But then this year, partway through fall practices, you move him to the infield, and he looked great playing infield.
Right.
And it was one of those situations where, hey, let's get our best athletes on the field. And you know what Coach Tadlock's thinking there? Well, if I can move Bravo to the infield and have him playing at second base, then I have more spots in the outfield for talented outfielders. And we've talked about how talented this outfield group is with Thompson and Johnson and Souza, all center fielders. Besides Bravo, Logan Hughes, Ryan Jones, even Garrett Boehm, who was a third baseman for you last year, played a lot of right field in the fall. He could be out there as well. So the thought is we get more talented players. We move Bravo to the infield. He looked very solid at second base. Nothing spectacular, but solid. Made all the easy plays and made some tough ones as well. But then as the fall went along, you got Antonelli Salvatore, who's a junior college transfer, who was dynamite at the plate. Yep. And this is a guy that he's prototypical leadoff hitter. Doesn't have a ton of power, but hits to the alleys. Had an inside the park home run in the Red and Black Series. Had a couple of triples in the Red and Black Series. And so this is an exciting guy, a guy that puts the ball in play a lot, doesn't strike out a lot. Again, as I said, a prototypical leadoff hitter. So if you want to get this kind of hitter in your lineup, well, you got to find a spot for him, right? Well, unless he's DHing, second base is his primary position. Didn't see him play third or shortstop all fall, didn't play in the outfield. So if you want to get him in the lineup, well, obviously that says, okay, well, if he's a good hitter and he's doing good things for you at the plate, where are we going to put Damian Bravo? Well, the obvious answer is back in the outfield. So
Yeah.
Bravo was listed as an infielder on this all Big 12 team. I'm not sure that's where he's going to play. I think he'll play some there this year, but I think he'll spend plenty of time in the outfield as well. I think Pompey will spend a lot of time at third base this year, but wouldn't be surprised to see him play some short and second as well. Coach Tadlock has a pretty versatile team where guys can play different positions, and so it's going to allow him to go with the hottest bats at any given time, and that's what you want as a coach. You want to have that ability to just play guys at different positions to get the hottest hitters in there, and so I just think it's interesting that they put these two guys who make sense that they're on the list, but I'm not sure that they're playing the position the Perfect Game thinks they're going to play.
Yeah, and I think what's odd is having, and I think it's odd for Texas Tech, but you have two guys that are utility guys, essentially, that can bounce around, that are two of your best players, two of your most talented guys on the roster. That's not a normal thing. Normally, you have a shortstop that's sitting there like a TJ Pompey. He's your shortstop. He's going to start 50-plus games for you at shortstop in a season. Damian Bravo is more super utility because he can go infield and outfield. That's just not a normal thing, but it's a nice luxury because of all those other names you mentioned, that you're able to have some flexibility, because those two guys will be in the lineup pretty well every single day of the season.
You would think so, and I mean, I look at Logan Hughes, the transfer from Stetson, and feel like he's going to be in the lineup every day, and he's a corner outfield / first baseman. So he's still in the mix at first base as well, but I think more times than not, he's going to be an outfielder or a designated hitter. So if you're getting him in there, that means that's one of those corner outfield spots. I told you how impressive the three center fielders are, two of which are freshmen, and the other one is a junior college transfer, so all new guys. And so you can see the problems that Coach Tadlock, quote-unquote problems, that Coach Tadlock is going to have making out the lineup card every day. But as we have said so many times, good problem to have when you have talented players that you're trying to figure out a spot for them to stand.
So beyond that all Big 12 list that Perfect Game puts out, they also went through several MLB draft prospects. That includes guys from classes, or it really breaks it down into different classes. So you'll see another name there with TJ Pompey and several other Red Raiders.
Well, and what you see when you look at this list is that there's really a talented group that the Red Raiders have assembled.
Sure. And
it's one of the reasons Perfect Game didn't have the Red Raiders in their top 25. I think they had them listed at number 33 heading into the season. Yeah. But at the same time, they talked about in their article how this might be a big-time surprise team, because, this is a program that's had a lot of success in the past. They've kind of reloaded here a little bit with some talented players coming in to mix with the talented players that you had. And I think Coach Tadlock feels better about the pitching situation than he has in a long time. And so there's a reason why people are high on this team. So of the guys that they listed, when you look at this year's upcoming draft, you're going to look at juniors and seniors in that group, right? And so for the juniors, they list Damian Bravo as the number 10 prospect in the Big 12 conference. And again, his versatility plays into that, but really it's all about what he can do at the plate. The interesting part about Bravo that I think is really strange, if you go to his freshman season when he played outfield towards the end of the year, he was a big-time home run hitter. Didn't put the ball in play nearly as much, but didn't have a high average, but he was a power guy for you.
Right.
You go back to last year, and he's playing almost every day. He leads the conference in that batting average, but at the same time only had 4 home runs on the season. So the approach changed a little bit, and I would be willing to bet you we'll see that home run number go up for Bravo this year. And of course, we know that teams at the next level, that's what they want. They want run producers, and so that's something probably we'll see a little bit more of with Davian this season. Also, they listed off as a junior, Tracer Lopez is the number 12 prospect in the Big 12 heading into this year's draft. Tracer has been your starting shortstop for most of the last 2 seasons, been in and out of that, played some second base as well, middle infielder. And probably at the next level, he's probably a second baseman and not a shortstop because of his size, but a guy that you're really looking to take a step forward at the plate because he has terrific speed, and you want to see him use that speed. So hopefully we see a little bit of that coming up this upcoming season.
Sure.
When you go to the 2026 class, so that would be this year's sophomore group, TJ Pompey is listed as the number 1 player in the Big 12 conference as far as draft prospects go. just a really, really good athlete, okay, and that you can see has a ton of talent, and there was freshman ups and downs last year, but is going to be a big-time player. The good news, if you're wondering about it, because sometimes there are draft-eligible players after their sophomore year, TJ will not be. So TJ will be here this year, and he will be with the Red Raiders next year. That's assuming there's no transfer portal issues going on there. Doesn't seem like that would be the case. But,
Doesn't seem to be.
But who knows, with college sports nowadays.
One that's not on that list that I think could make his way to that list as sophomores and is draft eligible is Mac Hewer.
Absolutely. If
he takes that jump from his freshman to sophomore year, like you kind of hope he does if he's in the weekend rotation.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you need him to.
Yeah, then you never want to lose guys, but I kind of want to see Mac Hewer drafted.
Yeah, because that means that he took a big step
season.
forward. Yeah, and I'll be really surprised if Mac doesn't start the season as one of your weekend starters.
Yeah.
We'll be really surprised. Okay, and then move on to 2027. So that's incoming freshmen or freshmen that are on the team this year.
Yeah.
And Jay Souza is listed as the number 3 prospect in the Big 12. And again, Red Raider fans have heard so much about the name, and we're excited when you got him committed and signed and all the above. And you heard all the reports previous to that about, well, he could be an early pick in the draft. And, well, clearly let it be known that he wanted to play college baseball.
Sure.
The Red Raiders are thrilled to have him, but you didn't get to see him in the fall because he had injured himself in the spring, I guess in the summer, and so they wanted to make sure he was 100% healthy. I think I had heard that he was working out. It was a full go at the end of the fall, but they still didn't use him in the Red and Black series. So nobody's really seen what he can do. But this is a kid that hits from the left side of the plate that's got elite speed. Everybody feels like step on campus, day one, you're starting center fielder. Kyler Thompson and Kendall Johnson have something to say about that because those two were really good in the fall. But, this is an elite player, a big-time player that the Red Raiders got, and you're looking for him to come in and make a big, big impact overall. Just on both offensively and defensively for the Red Raiders. Speaking of Souza, when you look at, a top freshman in the country, Perfect Game named him 28th, not in the Big 12, but in the nation. So he's that kind of a respected player, and hopefully that turns into big things for the Red Raiders this year. Moving on down that list, TJ Pompey is listed as our number 30 sophomore in the country. Mm-hmm. Bravo, the number 79 junior in the nation. And then when you go to seniors, there's 2 guys that I think will make a big impact for this team this year. Trenton Parrish is listed as the number 20 senior in the country, and Peyton Schulze, he's the transfer from Cal, corner infielder, third or first, is listed as the number 24 senior.
Yeah.
Trenton Parrish, to me, looked as good as he ever had in a Red Raider uniform at the end of last season.
Right.
He missed the beginning of the season. At the end of the year, you go back to his only start of the year, the final game of the season against Oklahoma State, where he gave up just 1 run in 6 innings as a starter and was terrific. The few times that we saw him in the fall, he looked awesome as well. This is an extremely talented guy, probably going to be used as a bullpen guy, not as a starter, but I'm not certain about that. And this is a guy that just hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Yeah.
The stuff is there. He's got the seasoning. He's gone through the freshman ups and downs and all that good stuff. Just hasn't been able to stay healthy. If he's able to stay healthy, I think he's a huge impact guy for this Red Raider team this year. Because, again, like I said, I thought he was great at the end of last year. You could have really used him.
That's obviously the number 2 question with Trenton Parrish. Can he stay healthy? The number 1 is, how is he wearing his hair this year? Is it going to be the electric blonde long locks?
I think he's sticking with the black.
Okay.
I think he's
going black.
I think that was a freshman thing, and I think he's sticking with the black. So that's whatever you want. I don't know. That's good. That's bad. But
whatever makes him pitch the best. That's all. I
know he was a lot easier to spot when he was.
It was
blonde.
Easy to in the bullpen. Yeah. It's like, okay, we know Parrish is up. That's pretty easy.
Yeah. The other senior that I mentioned there, Schulze, I think is another guy that coming in. When you bring these guys in from Division I schools as transfers, and this is a guy that's a senior, you expect that they're going to make an impact right away. He hit over 320 last year in the Pac-12, double-digit home runs. Immediately, first day of scrimmages, I noticed him out on the field being the chatter guy, the guy that was encouraging young pitchers, the guy that was, talking to guys and making sure everybody was in the right place. he looks like the kind of leader that maybe you didn't have on last year's team. And I think that the glove will play at either corner position. The bat is good, and just the leadership qualities that he brings to the table feels like this was a great addition to this year's team.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing him. A lot of those newcomers that we've gone over.
When you want the brand in West Texas roofing, there's only one company to call, Andrus Brothers Roofing. Like our Red Raiders, Andrus Brothers knows that to win, you have to be better than your competition and you have to dominate in all phases. With over 40 years experience, Andrus Brothers has mastered these concepts. So when the high winds and debris damage your roof, there's only one company to call, Andrus Brothers Roofing. Accept no substitutes. Stick with the starters on the ABR winning team. Andrus Brothers Roofing, we nail it every time.
Before we wrap this up, Jamie, we look at how the Big 12 shakes out, and you look at the list from last year. You obviously lose Texas and Oklahoma, gain 3 other teams from the Pac-12.
And those were the 1 and 3 teams in the regular season last year.
But, a lot of people look at the win total for a good team, and you kind of set that at 40 wins. Like for a really good baseball team, making the postseason. You only had one 40-win team from a season ago returning or coming to the Big 12, and that was Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
So not everybody was where they wanted to be. I know 40 is not exact science. You look at the conference record.
Some of that is how difficult of a non-conference schedule you play as well.
Exactly. But with all of that said, OSU is the only 40-win team returning from a season ago. TCU had a not as good year. Arizona had a good year, but this still does feel like a Big 12 that can be fairly wide open. It's not just one team at the top of the list that's going to go run away from everybody else, or 2 teams that'll be top 10 teams, and those are the teams to beat. I feel like you've got a group of teams near the top, but it's going to. I think you could probably see any of 4 or 5 teams go win the conference this year.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised at all for any of those top 5 teams. I mean, go back to last season. TCU was the prohibited favorite in the conference.
They were
top 5 in the country,
Yep.
and they didn't even make the postseason.
Yeah,
similar to your Red Raiders, they had a really, really down
Yep.
year, and I just do not expect to see that happen back-to-back years for TCU.
it'd be surprising.
Yeah, it would definitely be surprising. They've made some additions in the transfer portal, just like they did last season, that didn't work out for them really well, although some of them really did, some of them didn't. Team just wasn't great overall, but I think TCU will be in the mix again this year. Oklahoma State, with what they've got and what they've been able to do recruiting-wise, they will absolutely be in the mix. West Virginia brings a lot back from a solid team a season ago. They do lose the Big 12 Player of the Year in J.J. Weatherholt, so that's a big hole for them them to make up for. But he was a terrific player for them for a few years. They're another team that I think will be at the top. One of the newcomers is the Arizona Wildcats. I mean, we've heard all about their baseball history and tradition. They bring a ton of offense back, okay? And so they lost some of their key pitching, but I think Arizona will be a top 5 team in this conference. And I think your Red Raiders will be in there as well. And I know that you finished 10th in the conference a year ago, but I just don't expect the Red Raiders to stay there. There were some other teams last year, like the Kansases of the world, that came in and made a big splash and brought in a lot of guys and through the portal and played really well. I still think they're going to be a good baseball team this year, but I don't think they'll be quite as good as they were last year. Arizona State, another team that's coming into the conference, ton of offense with that team. They lit up the Red Raiders when they played them, but I think they don't have as much pitching, and so that will kind of drag them back a little bit. But I think those are teams that I think are all worthy of postseason consideration. They absolutely could all be NCAA tournament team times, but it's just fun just because it's a new conference with so many new teams, and it's interesting to see how it's all going to shake out.
So your top 5 in no particular order. You have TCU, OSU,
Arizona, West Virginia, and the Red Raiders.
Okay. So if you were to grab a dark horse of sorts that could get into that top 5 that's not in that group right now, who would it be?
I think I would go with KU. I think I would go with the Jayhawks just because I feel like they've really turned their program around. They did a great job using the portal a season ago which makes me think that they've got a recipe there that works for them. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can build off of last year and do some more of that again this season.
All right, so next time, join us next week, and Jamie, we'll talk. We haven't talked a ton of pitching, and I know that was a problem, obviously, last year. Tech feels better about where you're at going into the season, so we'll dive into the pitching, potential weekend rotation type of stuff, and bullpen as well next time. And we anticipate there will probably be a Big 12 preseason poll.
Should be coming soon.
And all Big 12 honors based off of last year's schedule.
Yeah.
So.
And good news for the team, they actually, on Saturday, get to start actually scrimmaging and working out together.
Real stuff, yeah.
Before it's been individuals with position groups and all that. But now they can finally get to start practicing together,
sure.
Which seems crazy. Is January 25th, you get to start practicing together.
Yep.
February 14th, everybody plays a game. And just last week, the NCAA voted on a rule change where college baseball will have an extra, I think it's about 2 weeks starting next year, where teams can prepare and play together as a unit leading up to that mid-February.
So you can get out there in the snow.
There's probably some of that going to be going on, absolutely.
Yeah, based off of recent history here.
Hopefully Coach McGuire will let the baseball team borrow the indoor facility a little bit.
Some wiffle ball? Let's go.
That was fun.
That's always fun. That's it for us. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks to Andrews Brothers for sponsoring this podcast as well. For Jamie Lent, I'm Chois Woodman. It's been Talkin Baseball, brought to you by Double T 97.3.
Breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin Baseball podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.